My name is Renan Gutman. I'm EVP Product at Kaltura, and I'm joining you virtually live from the studio in New York City. AI is really dominating every conversation I have these days. In some cases, bots are even participating in the conversation. But really, it's like AI everywhere. There's a lot of talk today about AI being the new technological revolution of our times. And we've seen the impact of the age of information with PCs and mobile phones and the internet in general, of course. We've gone through the age of oil, the age of steel, the age of steam, all the way back to the first industrial revolution. Already back then, in the 18th century, people were worried about machines taking their jobs. And that fear of being replaced is something we're also hearing today. Around 65% of marketers said they were worried about their jobs becoming redundant. But when I think of AI and I try to describe this point in time we're in, what always comes to my mind is the discovery of fire. So fire gave us this great power. It gave us food and warmth and light, and it warned off dangerous animals. But it could also span out of control. It could burn and destroy. And I feel like that's where we are with AI. We're fascinated by it, by what we can do with it. We're also worried, and we're thinking about how we can use it safely and how we can control it. Yes, that's all really philosophical, but we can bring it back down to what we're seeing in our space today. We see over 75% of marketers that are already experimenting with some AI tools or using them occasionally. Tools like ChatGPT or Midjourney. An overwhelming percent of marketers say that they need to use AI in order to stay ahead, although only 12% think it'll be a major valuable addition to their marketing strategy. So they're open to AI, but they're also a little bit skeptical. And top of mind are challenges like data security, privacy, and ethical concerns. And also, like any new tool, it needs to be connected to the rest of the workflow. AI doesn't stand on its own. What everyone's hoping for is that with AI, they'll be able to increase productivity, do more, or even better with less, essentially. We know personalization is this key item that's on many marketers' minds. It was the top item they raised when looking for ways to elevate the attendee experience. So when we started working on bringing AI tools to Kaltura, one of the angles we started experimenting with was this concept of content discovery. We talk a lot about how searching the internet is going to change, moving from this series of ranked results to this single elaborate answer. And there's something convenient about it when you're looking for something specific. But what happens when you're looking to be inspired? When you're looking to discover content? Find something you maybe didn't even think to look for. We were playing around with this idea, and especially when looking at events, you have all this amazing content, highly produced, really good speakers. But when you come to the event, you tend to be a bit overwhelmed. You immediately start going over the agenda, narrowing it down, deciding what you want to add to your calendar. I mean, in a way, you're personalizing it, I guess, but it's a very manual process. We felt like the process of discovery of the content was very flat, like looking at a map. Instead, we started thinking, what if we could build the event around you and create this multidimensional view of the content? So we came up with this idea of Inspire Me. We create a personalized page for you based on your interests. The page brings together all sorts of content from the event, keynotes and breakout sessions and data sheets, anything. And then we added another layer on top of that, creating content automatically, something that can spark a thought or an idea, bring you somewhere unexpected. And it can be tips or checklists or famous quotes, even silly things like haikus. The idea was to break the mold and create an experience that's just a little different. In many ways, this experience for content discovery imitates the creative process. You're reorganizing and you're bringing in ideas from other sources. The difference is, we're using AI to do it. To me, this concept of content discovery is so interesting, since it combines multiple elements such as recommendations, generative AI, and personalization. As we build out these different ideas, I think there is a hidden element that is not talked about enough, but it's really the foundation in many ways. That element is data. In many cases, half the work is just data, and then comes AI, and then everything else you can build on top. To be honest, I think for event marketing, data was never utilized to its fullest. Part of it was because the data was so detached from the workflows, and it was always mostly used for reporting. Around 40% of marketers said they use event data collected for strategy optimization. So data is really perceived as this long-term tool, not as something I can use immediately to impact the experience. I found it interesting, to see that engagement data from events and webinars is not always collected. So the next challenge our team wanted to tackle was actually on the event management side. How can we bring AI and data together for real-time impact? This posed a real challenge because we know event managers are stressed already. The last thing they need is another thing to do or prepare. That's where the idea for an assistant came from. This idea of being, a Watson to your Sherlock, a Robin to your Batman, you get it. So, it's not just someone with advice, but someone who's really working alongside you. The first task for the assistant was to think about how to make engagement data from events actionable, real time. And what we did is we built a model that had 3 layers. The first layer is data. Who's watching and how are they engaged? Do they have the audio on? Is the tab even in focus? The second layer is identifying signals in the data. How do we know when we're losing our audience? How do we know when we're touching on something that's really interesting? We need to analyze the data to understand the changes in the data. The last layer is action. I know I'm losing my audience. What do I do now? We put proven engagement tools at your fingertips. With AI, the system tracks the last few minutes and suggests relevant actions, like a poll based on your content. Now, let's put it all together. You're running a webinar and there's real-time stats about attendance and engagement. You're starting to lose your audience about 15 minutes in. The assistant catches this trend and pops up to let you know it's time to step up your game. It's not just about letting you know you need to spring into action. It's about automatically creating and preparing that action for you. You can launch a poll in a click of a button. That entire process is mostly happening behind the scenes.